Janome.
Hi everybody, I'm Mitzi Redd with Janome, and I'm really excited to be here today because I'm going to get to show you the latest machine in our long arm lineup. So right here beside me, and you can see it looks a little different in a table versus a frame, I've got the Quilt Maker Pro 20 Versa ST. Now that's a lot, but what does it mean? Well, we've taken our Quilt Maker Pro 20 and put it into the Versa setup. So it's in a table that you can either sit down or stand up with, depending upon what your preference is. Now, obviously I've got it in a standing position right now, but I'll show you how to get it into a sitting position as well. Because we want to make sure you like how you do your stitching. So let me tell you some of my favorite parts of the machine first, and then we will talk more as far as what it will do, and we'll do some stitching also. In it right now, I've got for you, this is the best part, 20 inches of throat space, right? Look how much space is there. So whether you're wanting to do a small quilt like I've got the wall hanging here I was working on, or maybe you want to go all the way up to a king, you've got more than enough space. Check out the lighting. You've got lighting all the way through on your neck area as well as around your needle area. There's actually a ring light up in here, so it's giving direct lighting right over your stitching area. Now, you know what the surprising part is? I don't even have these lights all the way turned up. So they're actually low setting right now, and we've still got tons of lights, which is really great. On the machine also, some of the fun features, this area here, this gray that goes around it, that neck area, that's actually magnetic. So on my side over here, actually I have my snips, so I can literally just put them right there. They are always within reach. Any of your magnetic items can safely go up there, so you can always grab and go as you need them. On the machine too, what I've got currently, I do have my ruler foot on there, but of course it does come with your free motion foot also. You can see the difference in the height between the two. Free motion here, ruler here. Now I can free motion with my ruler foot, and I'll do that because I switch in and out between rulers and doing free motion quite frequently. But you do have both feet. Now let's talk bobbins. You've got the large M-class bobbin available for you. The metal bobbins is what's going to be in it. It's a very easy load bobbin. You can get right to it from underneath the table, so it's very easy to change your bobbins out. But look how much space is on that. You're going to be able to put a lot of thread on that. So let's talk about the table then. So like I mentioned, I'm in a standing position right now, but I can easily take it down to sitting when I'm ready. Now, table space though, it's really nice because really all in all, you're about a 38 by 36 space is what you need. And when you think about that, especially when we're talking a long arm, that doesn't take up much space at all. So you've got plenty of space still in your studio for your other machines. Also, if you need more space, there are wings that you can purchase with it. And they're 18 inches, so you can put them on both sides, one side, depending upon just wherever you want to add that extra space to support your quilts. Okay? So along with that, we've talked about the table, I showed you the feet, I showed you the bobbin. Let's talk about what's on the screen because there's a lot of great options on there. So you've got a 7-inch touch screen also for you. Now I'll show you some of the highlights here. Now I'm currently in regulated mode, which means I'm using my stitch regulation on this because yes, it is stitch regulated if you choose. On here I'm on regulation mode, that's my stitches per inch. I've got my start stop button that we love with all of our machines. So if I don't want to use my foot pedal, I can use my start stop. I can choose if when I stop stitching, do I want my needle in the up or the down position? I've got the down. And then that right there is your easy set tension. On the side is our tension dial. So whatever I have that on, it will set it here for me and it'll show me that, like for example, I'm at a 25. That way I can always remember when I'm using maybe a specialty threads or I really like the way my stitches look for whatever I'm doing on the project, I know where my tension was at. So if it gets bumped, if it gets changed, or maybe you change it for another project, you know where you can come back to. This nice big wheel here is actually going to be used to move my needle up and down, to bring it all the way down and back up. And you can see here with it, it's actually got a laser light in there. So it is given actually precision to show exactly where I'm going to drop that needle into my quilt, which makes it really nice, especially when we're working with ruler work or coming back onto a free motion like I'll be doing. So you've got a lot of fantastic settings in here ready to go. You can completely personalize it to you. Throughout the settings, like I mentioned, the lights are not even all the way up right now, so you can always adjust your lights for more lighting if that's what you need. make your adjustments for your low bobbin alert. So anytime you change your bobbin out, you want to reset your bobbin alert. So it kind of keeps track of, or at least an idea, kind of where you're at. So you know yourself when you're getting lower on your bobbin, so you can change it out before it actually completely runs out and you're not making a stitch. So that's important there. I'm going to move these out of the way and I want to show you this table. Now, I mentioned a while ago, of course, I'm in a standing position, right? But it's really easy to change my table because it does have the hydraulic lift to it. So if I want to change it a little or a lot, I can make that adjustment because I want to make sure I'm comfortable where I'm at, whether I'm sitting or standing at the table. You know, you want to be able to keep your shoulders dropped, stay comfortable. We don't want sore shoulders at the end of a good day of stitching. With it itself, I do have the memory, and I can actually memorize into 4 different positions. So where does that come in handy? Maybe you have a certain position you want for standing. Maybe you want to do one for just your setting, or maybe you have multiple people in your home that are using this machine and they have their own personalized settings too. Now I'm going to just wake it up here. Like for example, I'm on a 33.1 standing, and again, I would adjust it depending upon maybe what shoes I'm wearing or whatever I need to make sure I'm at the right height. I'm going to go ahead and take this down into a sitting position. So I'm going to use my down arrow, and it's going to just nicely lower it. Very quiet, very easy to make that adjustment. Now again, if I was using it all the time, I'd go ahead and memorize for exactly what is my ideal sitting position. So I'm going to leave that there and go ahead and come and sit down here at the machine. Now for myself right now, I am in stitch regulation. So what that's going to do for me is it's going to keep my stitches consistent for me, because with itself, now what I didn't show you is if you roll the quilt back, we do have encoders on each side of your needle. There's one here, there's one tucked here underneath my quilt. That is reading the movement of my fabric, and that's what gives us our stitch regulation. So it's going to make sure my stitches are consistent no matter how fast or how slow I'm going, because it's going to automatically make the adjustment for me. So being in regulated mode, those encoders are going to be really important. So we want to make sure you have your quilt backing even a little bit larger than what your quilt top and your batting is. So that way, as you get to your edge of your quilt, your encoders are still being able to see that quilt and make those stitches for you. So that's definitely important to do. So I'm going to come over here and just start back kind of where I dropped off earlier I was working. So because I've got the laser light, I can actually see exactly where that last stitch was at. I can roll my needle down into the position I need. I can grab my bobbin thread. It's going to pull it right back up for me because that needle grabbed it. And now my bobbin thread is off to the side, and I can just grab it and move it where I need it to go. Now I'm going to go in manual, which is like your regular free motion. It allows me to change my speed, and again, I've got my tensions already set. I know when I stop, I want it in the needle drop down position, and I can use my start stop button, or I can use my foot pedal. Now, I traditionally learned how to do free motion. So for me, in unregulated, I like using the foot pedal, but go with whatever option's best for you. Now, I'm going to grab my So Comfortable gloves, because when I just do free motion, I kind of like to have something on my hands to help hold the quilt. And these are our So Comfortable ones that fit your hands, are really adjustable, and they give a nice grip on the back side to help you hold onto your quilt without having to get, any lotions, oils, anything like that onto the quilt itself. So I've got my foot pedal where I'm comfortable, and I'm just going to go ahead and start stitching. So we're going to let it go. Now, as you can tell, the speed I'm determined is by me. I am my own stitch regulator when I'm in free motion. So I'm keeping my stitching pretty consistent with my speed itself. And I'll show you the difference here in regulated in just a moment. Now I'm just doing a fun little all over stippling because it's easy to show and do. Okay? My needle went into the down position because that's the option I chose. Okay? But you heard the machine is consistent with whatever speed I'm choosing. Now let's go into regulated mode. I'm going to choose regulated. All right, I'm going with 16 stitches per inch. You can totally adjust that to where you want to go. I'm not having to unplug my foot pedal or anything. I'm going to use my start stop button. Now what you're going to hear is the machine adjusting to my speed. So it's not going to sound the same consistency. So you'll see that in just a second. So let me go start, Now once I start moving my fabric, it'll start stitching away. So you hear how it speeds up and it slows down sometimes? That's because of all about how I am moving my fabric. So the faster I move it, the faster it's going to stitch. The slower I move it, the slower it's going to stitch. So what that gives us is being able to keep those stitches consistent no matter what speed I am going. Just like that. I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to tell it to pause because I want it to stay there for me. Because otherwise, if my fabric moved, it's going to go ahead and start stitching again. So I like using that option for it. Now, what about rulers? Absolutely. I was doing some ruler work here earlier. I was coming across and coming up and down with some curved rulers. So I had that going on right next to my free motion. So from here, it's just going to be time getting to play with it, practice, and get used to the machine, which way I like better. Maybe it's regulated, maybe I like free motion better. But you're able to do all the things you love with your traditional long arm. It's just on a sit down or stand up option versus needing that large frame. So let me just show you real quick before we wrap up, bringing it back up to a standing position. Now remember, it has the memorized options, so you can automatically set it for it when you get it home. I'm just gonna move my quilt out of the way here so you're able to see. Out of the chair we go. I've got my up is what I'm going with. So instead of the down, when I lowered it, I'm going up now. So I'm going to wake it up and very quietly, very easily, it comes right back up to where I want it to go. And even once I'm standing in it, I can adjust it very easily and very quickly to fit my height and where I need it to go. So I hope you enjoyed seeing our Quilt Maker Pro 20 Versa ST. And I hope you take a look at it because it might just fit that space where you've been thinking, I want a long arm, but I don't have the space for a 10 or a 12-foot frame. Again, you're only using 38 by 36 inch of your floor space. So it's a lot easier to put this into position, but you still get the benefits of the large 20-inch throat space, all the lighting, all the thing we love about our long arms. So go see your dealer, check it out now because they're getting them in store right now, and then be able to see what's the newest in our long arm line and see how it fits in your room. Thanks for joining me.